Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and a galactic astrologer. This video is a galactic astrology reading of the full moon in Leo at 5 degrees 15 minutes on January 25th, 2024. Welcome. So this full moon is a powerful one, and it's a guiding full moon. And we're going to get into what the guidance is from this full moon through three themes, energetic themes that I have pulled out from the galactic chart of this full moon in Leo. So what I do in these videos, I put an outer layer of fixed stars, galactic points, and celestial bodies to the Western tropical astrology wheel. And that is to help us connecting with our bigger self. I call it the bigger self, our multidimensional self. The ruler of this full moon is the sun. And the sun is located now at 5 degrees of Aquarius, highlighting the ingress of Pluto in Aquarius. So there's a big spotlight at this point in the chart. And we're going to talk a lot more about this highlight of Pluto in Aquarius. Just as a reminder, Pluto just entered Aquarius alongside the sun on January 20th. And this is really a historic entry, an ingress into Aquarius, which is, from a galactic perspective, there are two fixed stars that are really key in the vicinity of 0 to 1 degree of Aquarius. And that is Aquila-Altair and Lyra-Aladfar. And today I'm going to highlight Lyra-Aladfar because Lyra-Aladfar is located at 0 degree of Aquarius, while Aquila-Altair is at 1 degree of Aquarius. So that will come. I will talk more about Aquila-Altair as Pluto continues to move forward in Aquarius. So this video is going to highlight Lyra-Aladfar because there is pretty much an exact conjunction to this fixed star at this time. Now, Pluto's journey in Aquarius is going to be a direct forward motion in Aquarius until May 3rd, when Pluto is going retrograde and retrograding back in Aquarius, and then enters back into Capricorn on September 1st, 2024. And then as Pluto goes direct again, and then November 20th, I believe it is, goes back into Aquarius in direct motion for a little more than 19 years until 2043. So Lyra-Aladfar is going to be highlighted over and over again for the next couple of moons. So I think this is a really strong message from the universe to really examine the archetypal energy of this fixed star, Aladfar. So many of us are curious about what else is there. Are there new perspectives I can hold? Are there new connections I can hold? Are there new abilities that I can discover and rediscover? So our multidimensional self is vast. Our soul's journey through eons of time is something that more people now here on Earth is connecting with. So galactic astrology is there to help us expand our view of who we truly are as a soul. And I hope this reading will provide you with some enlightenment to the full moon in Leo on January 25th. If you're curious about your own galactic alignments, download my Galactic Alignments reference guide, and there's a link in the description box below to do so. Before we go into looking at the chart for the full moon, I'd like to share with you what the three energetic themes are that I have pulled out from this full moon chart. The first theme is expanding perspective for the future, and this is involving Lyra-Aladfar. The second theme is inner child creativity in focus. And here we're going to talk about the moon's guidance, and also in relation to the star cluster Hyades. The third theme is healing modalities from within. And here there's a whole bunch of fixed stars that I'm going to highlight. The most prominent one is Andromeda-Alperatz. But also I'm going to talk about in this theme Lyra-Vega, Sirius A, which is in the Canis Major constellation, and also Orion-Rigel. So stay with me for these three energetic themes. And now let's take a look at the full moon chart. So here we have the chart for the full moon in Leo. And as you can see there, the moon is at 5 degrees 15 minutes in Leo here, and opposite the sun at 5:15 degree of Aquarius. Now, this chart is very interesting because the moon is almost all by itself here, as opposed to all the other planets and points at the top of the chart. So this is also giving us some guidance around how significant this full moon is. So this full moon talks about that there's a new wind coming, a new reality is coming in. And the moon being by itself here tells us about things that we already know. There's much wisdom, ancient wisdom that we are in connection with. Some of us are using that ancient wisdom, and some of us are just connecting with the wisdom within. And we call it ancient wisdom. Now, this new wind, this new reality is alluding to that there's energy and wisdom that is coming in that we haven't thought of. And the sign of Leo, where the moon is now, is the courage. It's our heart. It's ruled by the sun. And there's a definite highlight here on our heart, our courage. And since the ruler of the full moon here is the sun, the prominence here of the sun's position at this full moon is clearly highlighting Aquarius, the new wind coming in, the new era, if you will. So there's a very interesting dynamic here between the heart, our courage, using what we already know, but also that new highlight with Pluto now in Aquarius as well. There's something really new and refreshing present at this full moon. So here we have the first theme, expanding perspective for the future. And here in this theme, we see a grand cross present between the sun and Pluto are highlighted here in Aquarius. Pluto conjunct Lyra-Aladfar, and also opposite the moon, of course, there in Leo. And the cross is built upon a square from the full moon and the sun to Jupiter at 6 degrees of Taurus. And Jupiter is opposite the Shapley Attractor at 2 degrees of Scorpio. This is a very powerful message building here because Jupiter's involvement, and also, of course, the signature statement of the full moon here, the sun-moon opposition, connecting in with Shapley Attractor, the biggest multiverse universal driver that we know at this time. So anytime the Shapley Attractor is in dynamic with a full moon, or any moon really here, brings this multi-dimensional perspective in, the multiversal influence, basically. And in opposition here to Jupiter, this is just an expansion that's going on here. And what I mentioned earlier about, we have access to ancient wisdom that has been built up for eons based on our human experience here on Earth. What we are invited here and what's highlighted here in this full moon is that ingress of Pluto to Aquarius, where we don't really know what's coming next because there is a new reality coming in. There's a new wind. And the sun's highlight of this point, not only a few days ago, if you're watching this later, but a few days ago from this full moon on January 20th, Sun and Pluto were conjunct, both entering into Aquarius together. And that is a statement. That is a universal statement. And this Grand Cross is asking us to expand our perspective on what's to come. And it may be something that we haven't thought of because it's that new. And if you think about a coin that has two sides, so we know ancient wisdom, what we have built up through physical and non-physical experience here on Earth. And it has two sides. Imagine this coin now becoming multidimensional with many sides, like a Merkaba almost. That is the unknown, basically. It's a multitude of options and multitude of possibilities. So imagine that's the texture I feel as a description, how to describe this new wind, if you will. So take that as something to think of. Where do I need to expand my perspective of this reality? Because it's getting expanded as we speak. I wanted to highlight Lyra-Aladfar here, and it's in the Lyra constellation. I have circled it here. Lyra-Aladfar is a archetypal energy of masculinity, structure, somewhat fear-based, but very protective. It's the archetypal energy of the warrior that stands up strong in sovereignty to protect what we have. And we can link that into, we are protecting our heritage here on Earth. Lyra-Aladfar also has a story of yearning for peace, liberation, and in simple terms, it's the journey from fear to love. So Lyra-Aladfar is associated with energy of liberation and going through the journey from fear to love. In this Grand Cross, it's the moon that is providing the guidance. The moon is providing that courage it takes to walk the path from fear to love. And it's heart-based. Leo and the sun is very much heart-based, right? So the full moon is guiding us to step further into that trust within, and at the same time expanding our perspective of our reality, our external reality. And Lyra-Aladfar is going to be a prime focus for quite a while here as Pluto very slowly ingresses into Aquarius. This energy is about liberation and addressing injustice, but also to walk the path from fear to love and feeling protective, feeling the boundaries, and still calling on that courage that it takes. The moon is also giving us guidance around having the courage, keep going, and staying open to the possibilities. Jupiter is that possibility, helping us to expand. And Shapley Attractor conjunct Haumea, the asteroid Haumea, which is the signature of New Earth energy, is infusing all of this into our Milky Way galaxy through this conjunction to Haumea, but also as part of this Grand Cross formation at this time, at this full moon. So the question becomes, how are you going to relate to this new reality, this new wind coming in with Pluto in Aquarius conjunct Lyra-Aladfar? And before we move on to the second theme here, I just want to mention that there is another fixed star in Lyra constellation that is named Lyra-Aladfar Lyra-Aladfar, and that's a different star located at 10 degrees of Capricorn. So the second theme I've called Inner Child Creativity in Focus. And here I'd like to highlight the moon again. As you can see, this yod formation here, which is built from Saturn at 5 degrees 44 minutes now in Pisces, conjunct Fomalhaut, the royal star Fomalhaut at 4 degrees of Pisces. And we also have Venus in the mix here at 2 degrees 56 minutes in Capricorn. Now, this is a yod that is pointing towards the full moon. Now, we want to first focus on Venus because Venus is making a sextile to Saturn and conjunct Fomalhaut, but also a sextile here to Haumea and the Shapley Attractor at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So she is very much supported in this position with sextiles around her. The feminine energy infused in this yod is part of the guidance that the moon gives at this full moon. Alongside Saturn's angelic influence from Fomalhaut, the royal star Fomalhaut, related to creativity, to Archangel Gabriel, which is really the ultimate infusion of creativity that you can get. So Saturn is asking us to tap into that creativity with all that infusion from Fomalhaut, and Venus is asking us to, use your feminine side here, use the multidimensional perspective from the feminine way, so to say. So this is what builds up the moon's guidance here in this second theme. But there's more. The moon itself is making two squares. It's a T-square that we have involving here. Jupiter opposite the Shapley Attractor, but also a square from the moon to the Shapley Attractor itself. So this T-square is just giving an expansion in growth to the influence from this full moon via Shapley Attractor and Haumea with that new Earth energy, expanding that and influencing the moon here to ask us also to expand and grow with this energy. Now, the moon is also supported by two sextiles. And one is the sextile to the supergalactic center at 2 degrees of Libra, but also a sextile to the star cluster Hyades at 6 degrees of Gemini. And that is the ultimate energy of creativity here. The guidance of the moon here at this full moon is key, and it points directly to creativity and the inner child. I want to show you how Hyades as a star cluster is positioned within the constellation of Taurus, the bull. And the star cluster of Hyades is associated with the archetypal energy of play, of creativity. And many times when someone has had a galactic incarnation in the star cluster of Hyades, it has been right before incarnation on Earth. So that infusion of creativity is likely some important part of the energy that it takes to descend to Earth. The moon's position here at 5 degrees 15 minutes is in the first decan, which is the physical realm. So the suggestion here is to really tap into that inner child and embody and actually embody that creativity and play. So what that means is that it's time to release that inner child, and it's the main guidance from the full moon here at 5 degrees to really embody that inner child. So how can you embody your inner child at this time? So the third theme here I've called healing modalities from within. And Chiron is in the center here in this theme, conjunct the fixed star Alperatz in the Andromeda constellation. Now, we have a T-square here, which is all about expansion and growth. The T-square is helping us to kind of expand beyond what we are currently experiencing. And the square here to Lyra-Vega through Mars conjunction with Lyra-Vega is an important one. Lyra-Vega is located at 16 degrees of Capricorn. We also have another square to Canis Major-Sirius A at 14 degrees of Cancer. So this builds a T-square, which is a growth opportunity, something that we need to consider together to be able to expand beyond what we currently know. Now, first, Andromeda-Alperatz here is associated with archetypal energy of plasma beings, and also somewhat of a fantasy world, fantasy reality. And the highlight that Chiron is making here in a conjunction to Andromeda-Alperatz is really our opportunity to bring forth our imagination. If we have suppressed our imagination, our way of stepping into another reality, our imagination, there are no restrictions really if we have developed that within ourselves. And the plasma beings that are associated with Andromeda-Alperatz may symbolize a new reality for us. And Chiron being here is that there's something here that we need to uncover, something that we may have suppressed. Or if we go back to the chart here, we also have Sirius A and Lyra-Vega highlighted here. And it really is that T-square. And Lyra-Vega and Sirius A are associated with together a archetypal energy of spiritual mastery. There's a different story between Sirius A and Lyra-Vega. Sirius A is a place where spiritual mastery, many times from a more of a masculine type energy, is present. And in Lyra-Vega, it's more the feminine spirituality archetypally that's associated with Lyra-Vega. This T-square is suggesting that the merge of the two, and that becomes a new reality. How can we balance that masculine, feminine with spiritual mastery within ourselves, and the opportunity to place ourselves in a reality that we can be even further advanced than what we know of today. The main message here of that T-square, as I feel it, is that the spiritual healing arts, there are much more modalities to come, and many of them may be based on our inner powers coming from within and how we are seeing our reality in a healing moment. And there's much more to come here to be articulated, of course, but that's how I receive this energy for this full moon. There's also a trine here to the great attractor and a sextile to Orion-Rigel. And this is a flowing energy, a supportive energy, because there is something here that we may need to let go of. I also want to highlight the trine to the great attractor, one of the universal drivers located at 14 degrees of Sagittarius, and also the sextile to Orion-Rigel at 16 degrees of Gemini. This flowing energy is supportive of this new discovery, this new reality that Chiron and Andromeda-Alperatz is linked into. Orion-Rigel is an energy of invention, teaching, but also very benevolent and expansive. Chiron here is, through the sextile to Orion-Rigel, supported by suggesting discernment in this flow of energy. Discernment is a quality of energy that is completely needed at this time if we are moving into a new reality. So Orion-Rigel is that discernment, guidance, asking us to balance the non-physical with the physical. Orion-Rigel is asking us to truly have discernment for what is truth in the spiritual healing arts and what's not real. This is a guiding reality check, really, because anytime we enter a new reality, there is a request for discernment. And I sense that this is also a guidance as part of this full moon, is that when many new modalities, new ways of healing is coming into our new reality, we need to be able to discern what is real and what is actually true and truth, and what is actually not with pure intention. So this theme has another part to it, and we're going to take a look at that next. Mars and Mercury are involved here as well in this theme because of the opposition from Mars to Canis Major-Sirius A, but also a quincunx from Mars to Orion-Rigel, and we could include Mercury in this as well. This is important because Lyra-Vega is that feminine influence of spiritual healing arts, and highlighting to us the importance to balance the non-physical and physical healing modalities. So this theme is really highlighting to utilize our ancient wisdom, our ancient soul wisdom around spiritual healing arts. But there's a new influence here in a new reality that we're asked to use, and balancing that ancient soul wisdom of spiritual mastery with something completely new coming in a new form, a new modality, and the ability that we all have to discern from within what resonates with us and what doesn't. Because the heart here, the moon's influence is guiding us to use the heart in this matter. So here we have Orion-Rigel that I wanted to highlight here in this reading, because Orion-Rigel has that influence on this full moon around using discernment based on our ancient history and learning we have built up as a soul over eons of time. And it's important to utilize our discernment when setting in intentions, but also in knowing what is for us, what we resonate with and what we don't, because there will be likely a multitude of ways that are presented to us, multitude of modalities that we have the full possibility to explore. But in there is the discernment that we're requested to apply. And and it's not necessarily going to be something that we can see. In the Aquarian age, it's all about air and it's unseen, right? So to utilize our discernment and use that ancient soul wisdom from within is an invitation to do. Now, I want to summarize by saying the first theme was around expanding your perspective about the future, for the future, because this grand cross that we are presented with at this full moon, the expansion through Jupiter opposite the Shapley Attractor and Haumea there, is really this full moon's anchor. Lyra-Aladfar conjunct Pluto there at 0 degree of Aquarius is a signature energy for this new wind, this new reality coming in, and the moon and its guidance here to stay in the heart and allowing us to embody that inner creativity. The second theme around inner child creativity and that yod between Saturn, Fomalhaut, and Venus with her sextiles to Fomalhaut, Saturn, and to Shapley Attractor at 2 degrees of Scorpio. She's very supported and protected there, Venus, infusing guidance to the moon here. The moon itself has a significant highlight by the square to Jupiter and the square to Shapley Attractor. So that T-square is an expanding one, while the sextile to Hyades and sextile to supergalactic center, another galactic point, is one of infusion of creativity and the guidance that the moon wants to give here. The full moon in at 5 degrees of Leo is to embody the inner child, put on a song that you love and dance to it, basically. And the third theme was healing modalities from within. The Chiron focus here, very close to the North Node, and we'll talk more about North Node as we go. Chiron conjunct Andromeda-Alperatz, this future energy, if you will, of fantasy, plasma beings, out there things. Chiron is inviting us to heal those wounds, to our ability to imagine. And this guidance that we receive from that sextile from Orion-Rigel at 16 degrees of Gemini is that discernment that we are invited to use when we enter a new reality. And also Mars and Mercury here, conjunct Lyra-Vega, are bringing that feminine spiritual mastery and highlighting for us how important it is to use discernment as new modalities for healing are coming out for us to consider. Both Sirius A and Lyra-Vega are spiritual mastery energy from a masculine and a feminine energy, and we're invited to balance these masteries, if you will, as we move into this new reality as part of Pluto's ingress to Aquarius here and the sun highlighting it all. So I have a couple of questions that you can choose to work with should you want to integrate this full moon in Leo galactic energy some more. The first question is, how are you going to relate to this new reality, this new wind coming in? What are your tools for discernment? How do you know what's real and what's not real? This is a big task, of course, because things are going to speed up. There's a lot of air and fire coming up in our astrological winds. So this is a key question. How are you going to relate to this new environment and this new reality? How can you expand beyond what you currently know? The second question is, of course, regarding your inner child. How can you connect with your inner child on a regular basis and make it a priority to tap into your creative life force within you? Because when we do that, it can become a guide in our lives. So the inner child guidance that the moon is giving us here at this full moon is key. The third question is, how can you use your power of imagination and connect more with that energy? How can you use this new reality and make it more harmonious for yourself, more supportive? How can you use your imagination to create a reality for yourself that you want to be in? How can you use that ability of discernment to determine what's real and what's fake? As many new ways of relating is going to be presented to us as we move into the Aquarian age and with Pluto in Aquarius now until September 1st, and then going back in retrograde for the final reality check in the Capricornian energy before Pluto moves in to Aquarius for the next almost 20 years. In galactic astrology, we work with early degree fixed stars in Aquarius, and it is Lyra-Aladfar. And also we have Aquila Altair. We will be talking about Aquila Altair once Pluto comes closer to an orb for that fixed star. And lastly, how can you prepare yourself, expand your perspective around what is possible? Because the Aquarian age and many astrological milestones that we're going to have coming up here soon this year is going to present us with scenarios that we haven't thought of, that we haven't really experienced ever before. So now is the time to expand our perspective, tap into that creativity within ourselves, that life force, and being guided by it through the heart, but also applying a sense of discernment to this new reality and new possibilities that we come across. Using our imagination, expand our imagination of possibility is key, because the air and fire energy is going to be very present, and allowing yourself to also feeling grounded, spiritual practice, a daily spiritual practice on how to ground yourself, spending time in nature. Grounding means that you feel here, you are here in this reality of yours, and feel at harmony and peace with yourself and your environment. So here we go. Pluto in Aquarius is a historical entry for many reasons. Thank you for listening and watching to this galactic astrology reading. Welcome back again. I will be back soon with new Light Living podcast. Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments Reference Guide. A link is below in the description box. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all the beautiful comments that I receive on my videos. I'm getting very encouraged by them, all of them. I will be back soon with another video. Take care, and I see you soon. Bye.